What's going on, everyone? Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk trade buzz / trade rumors involving the Browns, as I've seen a lot of chatter online about Cleveland maybe trading for a new left tackle and even Davante Adams, which we're going to get to at the end of the show. But really quickly, today's show was made possible thanks to our friends over at Hexclad. If you want to up your pots and pans dishware game, make sure you go visit Hexclad because they're giving 10% off to the dog pound when you use our link, hexclad.com/chatsports. More about them later on. But let's get into our trade rumors. And the first trade rumor that we are going to talk about on today's show involves Garett Bolles. Now, he might not be a household name, but he's a pretty darn good left tackle for the Denver Broncos. And with the Denver Broncos off to a very nice 0-3 start, they could be in fire sale mode. So a lot of teams and fans and whatnot have connected the dots going, hey, if you need a left tackle, Garett Bolles could be on the market. Now, there was some buzz earlier in the offseason, like back in March/April, that Bolles could be available. So I wouldn't be blown away if he's moved. I don't know if it's going to be to Cleveland or not, but the former first-round pick out of Utah has 7 straight years as a starting left tackle for the Denver Broncos, and the Browns could be interested in his services. Now, this was the idea I saw floated out there on Twitter. It was Garett Bolles for Jed Wills. I tossed in the draft compensation. I think it could be something like Elijah Moore's trade where Denver gets a better draft pick, but the Browns do get something back for moving on from Jed Wills. So maybe it's a 3rd going to Denver and a 5th going back to Cleveland. So it's kind of like Bolles and Jed Wills swap, and the Broncos pick up a 4th-round pick because, let's be honest, they are not getting the better left tackle of the two. When you compare Jed Wills versus Garett Bolles since Wills entered the league back in 2020, it's pretty lopsided. I mean, the only thing that Bolles kind of has over Wills, and not in a good way, I should say, or Wills has over Bolles, is the penalties. Sure, Jed Wills has 2 more penalties, but look at the difference in snaps. I mean, nearly an extra full season because Garett Bolles missed pretty much all of last year. But sacks allowed is way down. Pressures allowed is way down. The only Achilles here for Bolles is he is always guilty of an extra hold or 2 throughout the season. But the PFF overall grade is very far apart. 59.4 on average since 2020 versus 77.4. If I'm picking one tackle for 2023, I'll take Garett Bolles. But if you're trading for Garett Bolles, you're likely looking a little bit more long-term than that. And I don't like either of these tackles long-term. I don't like Jed Wills with a 2nd contract on this team, and I don't like Garett Bolles for the next 4 to 5 seasons on the Cleveland Browns. So if we're thinking big picture here, if we're thinking past 2023, I don't think either of these guys are really your options for the left tackle position. Now, Garett Bolles beyond 2023 has 1 year remaining on his contract. His 2024 cap hit is $20 million. I think Bolles is a good left tackle. Just that. He's a good left tackle. Is he someone you want to pay $20 million to? Not really. Otherwise, Denver would not be interested in moving on from him. I mean, sure, teams go through rough stretches and they have fire sale modes and they move on from big pieces, but those pieces are not usually your starting left tackle. That's a cornerstone piece, right? That's something you build around when it comes to the offensive line, not move on from. So the fact that Denver's even maybe a little bit interested in moving on from Bolles is more of a reflection of he's overpaid. And I'm not interested in the Browns being on the hook for his tab for the next 2-3 years if they do extend him after trading for him and have a new overpaid left tackle, but maybe a little bit better than Wills, but still overpaid. Now, let me know, would you do this trade? Yes or no? Would you bring Bolles over to Cleveland, send Jedrick Wills over to Denver in exchange for a 5th and a 3rd round pick going opposite directions? Let me know down in the comments section below. Personally, I think on paper, after looking at all those stats and whatnot, it looks good. Cleveland's coming away with a better left tackle. I think we can all agree on that front, right? Garett Bolles is better than Jedrick Wills. He's definitely a bit older. He's 31 compared to Jed Wills, who's 25, 26 years old at this point. But what I don't know and what you don't know and what none of us really know is what would the locker room impact be? I know we're kind of getting in the feels here, but moving on from your starting left tackle, that's going to have a little bit of a ripple effect, right? We're not talking about trading for an extra edge rusher. We're not talking about adding some depth to the running back room. No, we're talking about changing out your starting left tackle. That's a big move. That's going to move the needle, right? That's going to get on the Richter scale. And I've got no idea if moving on from Wills is going to have a big impact on the offensive line, negative or positive, but it's going to have an impact. You don't move on from your left tackle and slide in Garett Bolles and there's no difference whatsoever. Maybe you get better play out of it, but who knows how DeShaun Watson would like having his left tackle be traded away. That's a talking point in a conversation that the Browns have to have. Now, before we get on to the Davante Adams portion of today's show, let's talk about your dishes for a moment. Not the ones that are in your sink that are, well, unfortunately probably been there for a few weeks at this point, but I'm talking about getting a new dishware in your closet or in your kitchen, because today's sponsor, Hexclad, has revolutionized the cookware industry with a hybrid pan that gives you all the convenience and cleanup of nonstick, the versatility of your grandma's cast iron, and a lifetime warranty just in case you find a way to destroy them. So go to hexclad.com/chatsports for 10% off. Now, Hexclad truly checks every single box when it comes to picking your cookware. They're metal utensil safe, dishwasher safe, and oven safe up to 500 degrees. Now, Gordon Ramsay, the celebrity chef that we all know and love, has this to say on Hexclad. The sear I can get with these pans is incredible, with absolutely no stick. The temperature control is utter perfection, and the cleanup is effortless. I love using Hexclad at home. They're also the sexiest pans on the market, so you can score some points at home. Stop ordering delivery food. Stop getting takeout and start cooking at home like a big boy with Hexclad. Real cuisine is not made in the microwave. It's cooked in a Hexclad. So for a limited time, get 10% off with our special link, hexclad.com/chatsports. That's 10% off at hexclad.com/chatsports. All that information is in the comments and the description of today's video. All right, let's move on to the second element of today's video, and that is, what about a Davante Adams trade? This one is definitely more far-fetched than the Garett Bolles trade, which I could see happening. I don't think that's unfathomable. But Davante Adams, this one's a bit of a stretch. So the reason why this is kind of making its rounds online is because this guy named Matt Lombardo, who's not a very credible source. I mean, one, he's not saying the Browns are picking up the phone calling Cleveland. He included the Browns as a Davante Adams trade destination article. So here's what Lombardo said, and I'm not even a big fan of his work. No offense to him. I just don't think he's got real big sources or anything like that. I think sometimes we all just kind of throw stuff on the wall and see if it sticks, and that's more or less what this is. But it's Andrew Berry, so you never quite know. But he said, the Browns have gone all in on quarterback DeShaun, I don't know why he capitalized the S, Watson, with inconsistent returns thus far, and must find a way to replace the production lost by running back Nick Chubb suffering a season-ending knee injury. Enter Adams, and a commitment to the vertical passing game. Miami with Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. Philadelphia with A.J. Brown and DeVonta Smith. And Seattle with Tyler Lockett and D.K. Metcalf have all shown the value in surrounding a quarterback with productive and prolific receiver duos. If the Browns want to elevate Watson and build an offense capable of keeping pace with the Dolphins, Chiefs, and Bills in the AFC, adding Adams would make a lot of sense. Well, let me get this right off here. Adding Adams to any team makes a lot of sense because he's the number one wide receiver in the NFL. Like, you could have pick any team and insert Davante Adams makes a lot of sense. The Jacksonville Jaguars, adding Davante Adams with Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley makes a lot of sense. Any team pretty much, maybe besides the Arizona Cardinals, would make a lot of sense for Davante Adams. Now, here's the issue. The Browns have already invested a good amount in the wide receiver room, right? They traded for Elijah Moore. You think they're going to move on, or not move on, but kind of punt on Elijah Moore's role in this offense after giving up a second-round pick for him just 3 games in? I'm not advocating for Elijah Moore ahead of Davante Adams. I'm just speaking facts here, and that is the Browns are not going to move on from what Elijah Moore's role in this offense is 3 games in after giving up good assets for him because they're a little bit nervous, right? And plus, what are the Browns going to give up to get Davante Adams? Look at their upcoming draft capital. They don't have a first-round pick still. They have a second, a third, 2 fifths, 2 sixths, and a seventh. I mean, Davante Adams is going to cost you a pretty penny. And the Browns simply don't have a first-round pick to offer until 2025. maybe the Browns would be interested in giving up that first. Maybe the Raiders wouldn't mind waiting until 2025, but this current regime might not be even making the selections in 2025. That's my biggest hurdle, is once again, there are a lot of big-name players out there I could see the Browns going after, but with what picks? Now, Davante Adams, it doesn't, take a rocket scientist to realize he's an awesome wide receiver. I mean, back-to-back years of 1,500-plus yards and 25 touchdowns from 2021 to 2022, and he's already off to another hot start this year with 322 yards in 3 games, so over 100 yards a game and 3 touchdowns. But I think Davante Adams, you could kind of put him right next to Aaron Donald and Browns fan fiction, right? These are pipeline dreams. I could see the Rams blowing it up and trading Aaron Donald. I could see the Raiders maybe moving on from Davante Adams after 2 seasons or a season and a half with his best buddy Derek Carr gone and this team looking like cheeks. But I just don't see the Browns being the beneficiaries of a Aaron Donald or a Davante Adams trade. But if you must, here's what I think you could offer, and the Raiders probably decline: a pair of second-round picks, 2024 and 2025. Las Vegas got Davante Adams for a first-round pick, and then they gave him a big contract extension. So he's got like 3-4 more years left on his contract, so that's got to be factored in. He's also over 30 years old. You're probably not getting a first-round pick for him because he's gotten a little bit older and he's got a big price tag now. So 2 seconds might get it done, but I'm sure Raiders fans would be very upset if they did not get a first-rounder for Davante Adams. But pick a trade for me. If you had to make one of the 2 trades we talked about on today's show, which one would it be? The Garett Bolles trade where you upgrade at left tackle, but you still don't quite have a long-term solution at that position because it doesn't look like Jedrick Wills is here for a second contract, or a splashy trade like Davante Adams, which 99% chance has no real chance of happening, but it is Blockbuster Bear. You can never quite rule him out for getting the notification of breaking news, just like Damian Lillard to the Bucks, Davante Adams to the Browns. All right, before we get on out of here, I do want to give some love to a couple of super thanks we had come in. So Mark Sash Jr., Dog Pound for Life, with a thank you, Petey, for your 2 years. I subscribed right after you started. I never end a day without watching my Browns report. Go Browns, Super Bowl for 24. Mark, thank you so much for the super thanks. Really appreciate it. And thank you for always tuning in. And then we had Blue Feather with a $5 super thanks. Cut Jedrick Wills loose and burn the white uniforms. Are we burning the white uniforms because of what happened on Monday night, or because you just don't like the white uniforms? Because I like the white out. I thought the white units, the white helmets and the white uniforms were pretty awesome. As for cutting Jedrick Wills, it ain't happening. You guaranteed his entire 5th-year option. So he's either being traded, he's being benched, or he's starting. But he's just not going to get outright cut. That's going to do it for us on this edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll sign off. We'll see everyone later, and enjoy the rest of your day.